True Peace Kings. It is August 16th, 2020, and I am back at y'all with another one. And if you trying to stay ahead of the game, you should subscribe to Peak the Slang. Biometrics companies innovating for a range of use cases amid solid financial conditions. Say, man, that's the headline. Peak the Slang. Growth prospects for biometric companies and optimism for the potential of new technologies are the theme of the week's top biometric news. Fingerprint cards may have the next advance in in-display smartphone fingerprint sensors, while IDEX Biometrics is shipping its key system for biometric payment cards, and Keyless has announced a successful seed funding round to back its passwordless authentication app. Financial results for the second quarter are rosy compared to most industries, and a digital health credential has been declared. Good ID. Even governments still appear to be spending on identity technology. A new kind of fingerprint system may soon be in development, as a patent filing by Fingerprint Cards to protect its invention of a lower-cost ultrasonic fingerprint sensor system has been published in the U.S. The company filed the original patent, which describes the ideas used for an in-display smartphone biometric last year in Sweden. Financial IT interviews Fingerprint Cards SVP and head of business line for payment and access, Michael Rowe, about the role of biometrics in the new normal, the push towards mass adoption of biometrics payment cards, and the proliferation of devices which need to be secured. The Trust biometric system on chip from IDEX Biometric has reached shipments in the run-up to the mass market launch of biometric payment cards. The market could reach $2 billion for IDEX within 3 years, according to an investor presentation by company executives. Research and present trends indicate cash is going away, but digital payments require biometric technology to provide the necessary security. Login Radius co-founder and CTO Deepak Gupta writes in a guest post this week, consumer and regulatory sentiment is now aligning with the industry in this area, he argues. A $2.2 million funding round announced by startup Keyless for its use of multi-party computation in biometric authentication was also among the top stories of the week on Biometric Update. The company plans to launch its Keyless Authenticator app soon to support remote working with passwordless technology that prevents phishing. The consultation phase in the biometric national digital ID contract process for the Malaysian government has closed. A separate contract for biometric border control technology is expected to be announced by the government in the third quarter to replace a canceled $828 million deal. The Philippines, meanwhile, has completed a pilot for a pre-registration process as it prepares to register citizens for its biometric national ID. A pair of partnerships for digital ID were also launched in the country's private sector, one with MasterCard and one with Element. EU agencies will soon test biometric border processes for its entry-exit system at land borders as they attempt to meet both security and frictionless travel experience objectives. The IDEMIA Sopra Steria system will be tested for its ease of integration with national systems. The UK government is planning a new document checking service like that used in the government UK, verified to assist with online application processes and accesses to government services. New Zealand's government is working on a digital identity trust framework, and a Forge Rock director believes the government in Australia should take its time to make sure it gets MyGov ID system right. Governments, the aviation industry, and businesses are taking action to transition air travel towards fast contactless processes with no long lineups or choke points with digital identity and biometrics. The TSA is planning a digital ID app touchless temperature scanning is going live at airports in Hawaii and Canada, while an airport in China has launched a facial recognition system in line with One ID. The first digital health credential has been approved by ID 2020 as Good ID, with BLOK Bioscience Self-Sovereign Identity Focused Immunity Passport reaching certification. The seal of approval is based on conformance to 41 technical requirements and could help garner support for the tool, the very concept of which remains somewhat controversial. An article in Bloomberg Business Week Vaccine Issues discusses the potential role of biometrics in establishing trust in immunity status as the world recovers from the COVID-19 pandemic, with Simprint's co-founder Toby Norman and iRespond CEO Scott Reed, as well as representatives from organizations like European Digital Rights and Medicines Sans Frontières. Like, key takeaway is that there are data security and privacy challenges still to be met. The latest round of financial results was mixed, but generally provide justification of the strategies of each of Swipe, IDEX Biometrics, fingerprint cards, Ping Identity, Snaptics, IntelliCheck, or at least a reason to anticipate revenue growth in the future. Where the Hyteria USA business will survive, meanwhile, seems to hinge on the related question of whether Motorola will collect its damages in an intellectual property theft suit. An innovative approach to voice biometric has Amelia well positioned to take market share in the contact center market. CEO Dimitris Vasos told Biometric Update in an interview fresh off the company's 20 million funding round. The resulting differentiator is passive biometric that works from just a few seconds of speech on the IVR side of the process and continue running during interactions with an agent. Even amid the pushback on the use of facial recognition in surveillance technologies, the biometric modality has a key role to play in the smart cities of the future, according to an article in Smart Cities World. Interviews with leaders from Digital Barriers, Capgemini, in Tech Lab, and Forrester suggests increasing use in applications like contactless access control shows facial recognition will be accepted, but a Planet Smart City executive says smart cities could function without it. The experience of Alphabet in Toronto, where its Sidewalk Lab subsidiary has been abandoned due to economic and possibly political infeasibilities, is explored by 10. A small number of people from an open government advocate to former BlackBerry co-CEO Jim Balancisi were gradually joined by other opponents of the project as details emerged and data privacy and security fears grew. The fallout from Reuters exposed on Rite Aid's use of facial recognition is examined by SC Magazine, which notes the need for companies to carefully consider how to implement the biometric technology to avoid the ire of regulators as they catch up to the present situation. Due to facial recognition systems work with masked faces or not, CEN tries to answer the questions by taking to TrueFace CEO Sean Moore, Tech5 co-founder Rual Parth, Georgetown Law Center on Privacy and Technology researcher Claire Garvey, and a pair of experts from academia. The answer, of course, is that it depends. Phonixia has joined the Biometric Institute, joining more than 240 other organizations worldwide, the company announced in a blog post, to participate in the independent and impartial International Forum for the Ethical Use of Biometrics.